So Sylvan, it's amazing to look at the numbers and think about that. We're talking about famine. You were about to talk about how that relates to Canada.
Absolutely. So in Canada, again, we shouldn't panic. I don't think food access is going to be an issue, but food affordability will. And we're seeing with numbers coming out of the U.S. I'm in the U.S. right now. The food inflation rate is now at 9.4%, and historically, Canada has always caught up to the Americans. So we're likely going to see a food inflation rate reach perhaps even 9% over the next little while. And and I would say that food inflation, when it's not under control, it's a bit of a disease. And what I mean by that, consumers will walk into the store and knowing that that bottle of vegetable oil will get more expensive, they'll hoard, they'll actually buy as much as possible. And that's the danger here. And the more we see people do that, the more it will put pressure on food systems. So we're really at the crossroads here, and that's why a lot of people are nervous. So on the one side, you may actually see consumers putting more pressure. On the other hand, you may see governments like Indonesia implementing protectionist measures just to make sure they can feed their own.
Hmm. Um, when we think about the food inflation that we're witnessing right now, um, how are you seeing consumers actually respond?
Well, so it's they're frugal. They're trading down, and that's why there's more focus on private labels. I was actually just in Toronto this week at a show, and we did talk about the new consumer coming out of the pandemic, and there's a lot of cash in the system, but there's a lot of plastic too, and so people are starting to really look at their budget and see, okay, with this inflation, what am I supposed to do here? So they're revisiting their food shopping habits. They're looking at different stores. They're looking at options to save, coupons, flyers, and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, they are trading down essentially. And for grocers in particular, we're seeing more conversions. So discounting stores are becoming more popular, and you're seeing it from Loblaws, you're seeing it from Sobeys, you're seeing it from Metro as well. Discounting is king, and that's going to last for a little while.
You also bring up an interesting point in terms of who influences ag around the world. And describe to us a little bit about the relationship between Russia and China and what we need to be thinking about as relates to how they might impact our food source, our food supply, and the costs. I think it's longer term, but I don't know if it's 6 to 12 months. But how do you see that relationship evolving?
Yeah, that's the wild card. Nobody really knows what China wants to do or will do, really. China, from an ag perspective, uh, has grown as an economy. Really, it produces a lot of commodities, but it also buys a lot of commodities, and it buys not only for China but for the rest of the world. And so, Russia, with all the sanctions against the country, China could actually buy some commodities and resell, or who knows. But right now, the world is desperate for more commodities. We're going to be in a deficit for wheat, barley, corn, sunflower, everything really. And so, what Russia decides to do or what China decides to do is going to actually have a huge impact on prices. It's going to have a huge impact on access. We just saw this week the EU is just desperately trying to get grains out of Ukraine as much as possible because logistically, because of the Black Sea, because of what's going on with the Black Sea, it's been very difficult to actually get products out of Ukraine, including fertilizers. So the EU is trying its best to put less pressure on prices, but it's going to be tough until we know exactly what China wants to do. It's everyone's guess, really, what's going to happen.